all the countries have on fighting climate change and resolving for climate action, the burning of coal, the burning of diesel in vehicles, the small scale industries that exist in Delhi are causing pollution 24/7. That the government is flying something like the water sprinklers or they are putting smog guns, etc., by the short but very acute problem of stubble burning that is happening in Punjab and Haryana. Can you imagine that over a period of 15 days, 25 million tons of stubble is generated?
Hello and welcome. You're watching One India News. My name is Pankaj Mishra. The show is called The Whys and the Hows. And this evening we try to decode why is it important to pay attention to our climate? And secondly, how difficult it has become of late to stay in Delhi NCR, to stay in capital cities like Mumbai, and to a great extent the central part of the whole country, be it Bihar, be it Patna, or be it Rajasthan, or another centrally aligned states like West Bengal. It's difficult to breathe there. To discuss the matters further, to also decode what is it that is behind this air pollution that we are talking about, Aarti Khosla, founder and director, Climate Trends, is with us. Aarti, thank you so much for speaking to us and taking time out on this issue that unfortunately many remember, including the media. I'm not absolving ourselves also, only when it is banging on our heads, not before that. Please tell us first before about Climate Trends. What does it do? As the name suggests, it is for the climate itself.
It is indeed. And in 2017, when the air pollution fight was at its peak and the world had just come out from what is known as the Paris Agreement, which is the single agreement that all the countries have on fighting climate change and resolving for climate action, we just were working on a lot of issues like electric mobility was very new, renewable energy, solar and wind were very new. The discussions on moving away from coal and moving towards cleaner sources of energy was new, and the air pollution fight was new as well. And at that time, we felt that having some kind of an initiative which really looks at what India's development choices should be and place it in context of how a changing climate is influencing those development choices is what prompted us to start Climate Trends in 2017.
Right. Needless to say, we have been, as you rightly mentioned, the Paris Accord, going back also, Kyoto is there, and several others, international treaties are there. India's specific case is a totally different scenario here because we are not just tackling the industrial pollution, we are also tackling the vehicular pollution, and now this trend of parali burning, which has taken a political overtone somehow. Do you believe that common people are at loss as of now because this political, gamut that keeps shifting the blame game? That's one aspect. And secondly, nothing much is being seen on ground in these days to tackle pollution.
Several studies have happened. The likes of IIT have done that study. The Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology have done those studies. When you break them down, it's quite simple. Things that are causing pollution is generally industries, it's transport, it's dust. So it's also the kind of wind breeze that exists. If the wind breeze is not able to take away pollution, like is the case in Bombay, it's hanging in the air for a long time and it's creating the kind of discussion that we are seeing where every Mumbaikar is now talking about air quality. So this is not something which is rocket science. I think enough evidence is there on how just the burning of coal, the burning of diesel in vehicles, the small scale industries that exist in Delhi are causing pollution 24/7. The problem is that in the winter months, that base load or the minimum pollution that is already existing throughout the year gets multiplied by the short but very acute problem of stubble burning that is happening in Punjab and Haryana. And that's the political blame game, which is never going to end. And it's not easy unless very stringent commitment from the center and the state don't happen together. Can you imagine that over a period of 15 days, 25 million tons of stubble is generated? A farmer which is just doing multi crops in a year doesn't have the time or the effort to dispose of that stubble. So, from their point of view, it's easiest to burn that stubble. But from the public health point of view and from the politics point of view, it is a game out there as we see it. And I think it's really sad that despite all the commitments and statements that have been made by various ministers, various ministries, various political leaders at the center, at the state, we still have a situation that we have in Delhi. I mean, I'm sitting in my office in Connaught Place and look at the air outside. It's hazy, it's brown, it's gray,
Absolutely.
and it's nauseating.
Absolutely. Aarti, at times there have been parallels being drawn between Delhi or, for that matter, London. People talk about Singapore also. The mayors there have done their due diligence. Now, does the buck stop here with the state government, if I may ask here? Can they, and I'm not just talking about Delhi, I'm talking about the major metropolitan cities, can they do something without the help of the center to keep a regular check on this polluting trend?
The problems of India are also the problems which come with just having a lot of people use the resources. So, what happened in Singapore clearly cannot just happen in India, just simply put. The scale of the problem here is quite different. Indo-Gangetic Plain, which is all the habitation that exists around River Ganga, is really holding 1/12 of the world population. So let us not also expect, the moon from our politicians. That's not right. The reality is that we need public and collective behavior change, but we also need very quick and very urgent systems level change. It's the state government and the central government through stringent regulation, through very hard hitting policy measures, that they can come up with the system level change. They can fly more public transport, they can bring more buses, they can stop trucks from entering, they can also make sure that the odd even comes into place. But they also must make sure that small things like traffic management, idling of traffic across busy intersections across Delhi, these kind of things are done in a planned way so that there is some kind of a public private partnership that exists and real action happens. Right now, what's happening is that the government is flying something like the water sprinklers, or they are putting smog guns, etc. These kind of things are, like everyone says, putting band-aid on a tumor. They will cause 8% change for 1 hour in air quality, which is very severe. In reality, it causes no change at all in real time exposure. So I think it's not really a question of blame game at this point. The scale of the problem that India has, especially the northern part of India and the Indo-Gangetic Plain, it really takes everybody to make that change happen. And I will not exclude public behavior, public attitude change, and really public lifestyle change as well as a very important part of what will make the difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. To my understanding, rather, I start for one from myself. Do I switch off my car at the red light? Do I try not to use a car when a bicycle or a two-wheeler could help? All these things come into play. You're right, Aarti. Public participation also very important. Talking on the policy level, what changes are required as of now, be it putting in stringent laws also against it? Do you believe that we are ready as of now, that a blanket policy is passed on and we comply to it as far as this yearly cycle of pollution is concerned?
I will be very honest about this one. I think the meteorology and the topography of Delhi, which means how it exists in the geographic situation, plus the kind of winds that blow, really have a very dust bowl situation of the country. So we saw in COVID times, even if you remove all the factors that cause pollution, you take away polluting industry, you take away vehicles, you take away traffic on the road, even then you have very clean city, but you do not have the WHO standards, which means that let us not fool ourselves by saying that if
Mhm.
you take very stringent policy measures, you will really have Switzerland air. You will probably never have it because of the number of people that the region is supporting, and also the way the wind is blowing and is really settling into a dust bowl in Delhi. However, what we must and what we can do, and what the policymakers, the politicians, and the people of Delhi must get behind, is making sure that everybody does their fair share. And I think that's where the real solution will lie, when everybody does their fair share. For our government, the fair share is being able to commit to take air pollution as a real problem. we can't just shy away from agreeing that air pollution is causing health impacts. And those health impacts are not just about watery eyes and itching. Those are serious impacts on cardiovascular health, on lung function, on mental abilities, and that kind of fundamental impacts on the well-being of Delhiites. And I think our senior most politicians must take it seriously. The second level of measures we must do is the kind of things our policymakers and our departments really can come up with, and those are the kind of things which are about really just long-term planning on public transport, so that it's not just about more number of buses. It's buses which you and I find reliable, affordable, and comfortable enough to travel in, and let us have that kind of public transport service. You mentioned about Singapore, and I was in Singapore early this week, indeed, and you can make out that why the country will disincentivize people buying cars, and nobody needs to buy a car because public transport is so well advanced and not just reliable and affordable, it is also comfortable. So I think these are the kind of things on which we have to think through, making sure that the industry, even on the outskirts of Delhi, if you go on the eastern and the western peripheral highways, you see brick kilns. Now, all the smoke of the brick kilns is indeed coming into Delhi. So it's not just about taking quick fix measures and throwing off the brick kilns from within the city to outside city limits. If it's putting the smoke back in Delhi, then what's the whole point of doing that? So I think some honest measures which really bring change in 1 or 2 years are the kind of things that must be done. If you see parts of Delhi, you have a patch of land where you have big construction. Right
Hmm.
next to it is a big patch of land which is empty. Either it's a parking lot or it's just empty patch of land. How much resuspension of dust in that empty patch is happening is a thing that our urban local bodies must also evaluate. Every time a car is going through it or just randomly people are using it, there is dust that is being kicked up, and that's creating PM10 as well. Yesterday in parts of Delhi, PM10 was 999, simply because the monitors cannot measure beyond 1000. So these are just things to keep in mind when you are looking at what the measures are. We talk about how pollution comes from thermal power plants. Now there is a whole campaign behind not having more coal, etc. But maybe we should make sure that thermal power plants that run in the region of Punjab and Haryana in a 5 year horizon actually shift to renewable based or clean generation and don't need energy from coal, because that is not where the future is. And simply because future, if you have to give futuristic cities and smart cities, they have to be about public health. That's the first ingredient of a smart city. And I feel that sometimes, if we have our fundamental definitions right, we will go a long way than making gestures and statements which make you believe that action is happening, but the public is just left wanting and disillusioned.
Right, Adi. I mean, I must concur that the points that you raise are point to two things. First, I think the planning or the designing or the city development needs a relook. You are absolutely right when you talk about brick kilns. You talk about buildings and then empty swathes of land and then maybe possibly a small forest area also. Secondly, where does this climate trend fit in this whole scheme of things, and what is that change that you're trying to make?
Well, climate change really tries to grapple with all of these issues which are neither directly in the public space nor directly are in the sphere of very simple actions by the government. We feel that if we can create a message in terms of how you tackle difficult problems, then there can be more involvement of the right stakeholders to listen to what the solutions are. So we bring a lot of think tanks, academics, institutes, uh, researchers together in one place. We gather their voice. We offer that as opinion to various parts of the government machinery. We sometimes work with state governments. We promote their measures. We work a lot on electric mobility. We feel that that is the future. We work a lot on renewable energy, solar and wind. We feel that making a case for shifting to decentralized solar, for instance, in parts of the country where you cannot have grid electricity for long periods of time, making sure that clean and decentralized or rooftop solar solutions are the answer, are things that we propagate. Last week, we were in Uttarakhand and we made a case with the state government there that we would also, we believe that, and we got various other experts to say the same thing, and they believe in it as well, that the way what is happening to Uttarakhand and the Himalayas, you always can't just keep talking about things as an event. You can't just say the Kedarnath floods happened in 2013, then flash floods happened now, then Joshimat happened. You have to look at
Mhm.
sequence of events and how things are happening, and next time you create an NTPC project like the Tapovan, you make sure that the environmental impact assessment is done, which is not breaching the levels of what the carrying capacity of that state is. If you're going beyond carrying capacity, climate change will come much later, but disasters will come much sooner. So I think we come to the positions from the point of view of scientific evidence and what data is pointing towards. And we hope by the work that we are doing through building these messages in the social media, in the public space, we write about it. We also encourage other experts and researchers to write about it. And through just building a public view on sustainable development, we try and make a case that while India needs to develop in the long term and in the short term, we also need to make sure that the development is good for our own people, and we need to make sure that the development is sustainable.
Right, Aarti, one final question. I must commend, first of all, the role played by Climate Trends. Obviously, it is much, much needed. Trust me. I mean, when we talk about big numbers, when we talk about big countries, then obviously the smaller and finer aspects are at times left behind. And you, as mentioned, with Climate Trends, are definitely attending to that. One final question, Aarti. You mentioned that you are in Connaught Place. For all the viewers who are outside India or maybe are not familiar with Delhi's topography, then Connaught Place is the central part of the city and obviously houses a lot of offices, corporate offices, not industries though, but a lot of small and big businesses are there. Aarti, while going back home, you climb down from your office, you go to the parking lot. If you are given a microphone and there is a public attending and listening to you, what 3 points would you tell the common people of Delhi who come from all walks of life to Connaught Place to bear in mind to have a safer tomorrow?
Take care of your health, see what is happening to you. Right now, it's also a phase where the pollution is so bad that you really need to keep a check on yourself. Make sure that your lifestyle is as healthy as possible. Make sure that at your level, you do things that you must. You take a carpool if it's possible. You use the metro if you can. You make sure that your voice is heard in your local resident welfare association in doing better local or actually hyper local management of air pollution if possible. And if your RWA can install, try and put a monitor or which gives you the results of air quality. Some of those monitors are not expensive. You get them for 15, 20, 25,000 rupees even. So, get your RWA to install one. There is something about seeing is believing. When you actually see that the air quality reading is 500, you
True.
are moved to action. So these are the kind of things which, just as people, as citizens, I suppose we can do, and make sure that at least our day to day is sorted. But most of all, I would say, just the air quality is so bad. I suppose making sure that elderly and children are taken care of, changing their lifestyle habits a little bit, not encouraging our parents to go out for walk at 7:30 in the morning. Ask them to go out for a walk at 12 or 1 p.m. when the air has settled a little bit, and that is still a better time. But really, at this moment, it's a matter of survival. And I would think that anything that helps us go through these days should be stuff that is done when the real dangers of what air pollution is outside, when those are over. That's the time for us to campaign for the government to act better and to act more. But right now, we really need to take care of ourselves too. It's hard out there.
Adi, thank you so much. Actually, pointing out the fact that keeping a close eye on your health and staying safe and healthy at this patch of the year is quite important. Aarti Khosla there, founder and director of Climate Trends. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We wish you all the very best in your efforts. And we also hope that your kind words, your wisdom is being shared widely and understood by the common people of India. Thank you so much, Aarti.
Thanks very much, Pankaj, for having me.
Thank you.
Subscribe to One India channel and never miss an update.